really a fascinating place that gets a hold of you.
What attracted you to Zilker Botanical Garden back in the day?
We had just moved here and was at Bergson for 3 years in this house in 1971 when we moved in, and we're still here. But we wanted to do some landscaping, and people kept recommending that we go down there and find out, particularly we wanted to grow roses. And so we went to some rose shows, and of course they're running around the room trying to work up membership, and they got us involved in the Rose Society. That was our first club. And
First thing we wanted to find where it was a pecan tree. We kept asking people, well, where's a pecan tree? And nobody knew.
So that was you started, and that was in 71?
well, about 1973, I
About
think.
73? Okay. So that was a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good. If you were going to tell someone about Zilker Botanical Garden, what would you want them to know?
Really a fascinating place that gets a hold of you if you'll take the trouble to walk the trails.
So gardening, it's important to you, but why?
To me, it was a hobby that I wanted to extend from my yard and work down there. I learned so much working with others, you know, that knew gardening and horticulture, and great camaraderie, whether you wanted to just dig in the soil or grow plants and exhibit them in shows. The people in the Rose Society that were more or less old timers were also involved in the men's show, and they wanted to pull from everybody. They wanted everybody to bring their plants to the men's show to make it the biggest, and they were successful. They were a bunch of old World War II guys with a lot of get up and go in them, and they used to have enormous shows. They'd fill the room and go down to where the offices are.
Really?
They had places they could hang plants up there.
So the men's garden club, was it a truly just men's club?
And when I joined, it was. And then all the old World War II guys died off, and their wives more or less resurrected it into the Garden Club of Austin.
The garden, which is still going very strong.
Yeah,
I believe Robert Day is the president of that now.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's a great guy.
Yeah, he's a great guy. Yeah. So is there any particular moment or memory at Zilker that stands out to you?
The dinosaur project was just phenomenal. At first, I didn't understand it, how they were going to get these dinosaurs in there. Then I found out they came apart like little toys, and then you reassembled them. And I was surprised that the public came. Parents and mothers brought their kids, and that's what made it great. But it was a tremendous success.
And that was Donna Friedenreich that kind of took that over.
You could sit down there and volunteer, you know, as people go by and check off something. You'd see a family coming, you know, and the kids weren't paying attention, and they'd come around and they'd just put on the brakes. Their feet would slide in the gravel as they'd see that first dinosaur.
Right. What are some of the biggest challenges facing Zilker Botanical Garden? What do you think the biggest challenge is?
parking.
Parking. So how has Zilker Botanical Garden impacted your life? And then Pat, I want to bring you in on that too, because y'all were always there together. So how's it impacted your life, Don?
I think in a great way. It, I guess, probably got me to 88 years old. Having a hobby and something to do. I appreciate the opportunity to be on the committee, the horticulture committee, and I stayed there probably overstayed my time there, but I was able to work with people like Meredith and get projects done within our budget. The budget was small, but we could get quite a bit done. And it was always a good feeling to work with everybody, coordinate everything, and get the little project in there and done, and on our way to the next one.
It does take a village, doesn't it?
It does.
Well, I just enjoyed the shows and the plants, and he was always pushing me, or I probably wouldn't have done it. And the arrangements, I got into judging and all of that mess. Was just kept us busy.
Yeah, because you did with the Rose Society. Yeah, how many roses were down there back in the day?
Let's say 600.
Wow.
And at that time, before you had 1 week, you'd go down there on Saturday morning with a group of four other, usually husband and wife or something like that, and go down at 6 o'clock and go to work, and clean it up, make it look good. And you get down there, and there was 5 deer standing there eating the buds off the rose.
All right, so Don, what inspires you?
I like sit in a room and see the different people and imagine what they could do to help my project.
Oh, I like that. Mm-hmm.
There are just a ton of talent comes through that place. A lot of time you miss it and you can't pull them in, but there's just amazing how much talent are in the clubs. They have a lot of capability, and a lot of them are real hard workers. And those are the ones I like to land.
Right.
I used to enjoy getting someone like that on the committee for the first time, and get them to working, and they see what can be done and see what they can contribute, and it's real rewarding to me.
So, when I hear you speak, you have so much caring and love for the garden, but why do you support the garden?
I think the potential to get more people in there is tremendous. And it needs to have more people. It needs to have a good parking lot.
So back in the day, tell us a little bit about your life as a master gardener.
That was a lot of fun. I was in the 2nd class. I retired from my job with the state so I could attend class. That's how eager I was to get in it and work with them. And so we had fun, finding different people to do different jobs. And we ran the first year, I think I had 500 hours on the telephone. And it was kind of scary. Mel was the garden manager at the time, and he welcomed the fact that we could get these volunteers to come at first, and then we could get so many, it was scary. And he said, I want to run in here and lock the door. He says they keep coming through the door volunteering to do something, and I don't have anything for them to do. And so it was, to me, it was an opportunity to finish bigger projects. And Valerie, I don't know whether you heard that name or not.
Mm-mm.
She was pre-Mel.
No, yeah.
Very good horticulturist, worked for the city, and she complimented us. We did the butterfly gardens down there, and she didn't want to let us start. She says, you don't have time to finish it before a garden festival. And so we promised her that we would be finished, and we did it. She says it was the first time she ever saw a bunch of volunteers finish something on time, and it looked good.
And it looked good.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you, this year, that butterfly garden, it's expanded, but the butterflies down there this year were amazing. Some beautiful pictures have come out of that garden. Yeah. Well, was the Bev shed brought in? When was that? Do you remember when they put that in?
Yes, Bev was in charge of something, I think entertainment, music,
Yeah.
for one festival. And she worked at a lumber yard, and she got them to donate the lumber for the musician stand. And it was the nicest one we ever had. And when it was over with, their crews had come in and nailed it together. Did a good job. Well, they kind of went back to their jobs, and we're all looking at each other. Who's going to tear this thing down? I think it was Jim Para, was a garden employee there. He says, "Well, we need a storage shed," and of course, Bev had got the wood in there. Well, we tore it apart, drug it up there, and then a bunch of men on the weekend nailed it together. And it was, Bev got the wood, so it was Bev's shed.
And it's still
Yeah,
there. It's still
yeah.
sticking, Bev shed. I always wondered.
She was a good-looking lady. She played tennis and was in good shape. And of course, all the men couldn't hit a nail trying. They were watching Bev.
She was cute.
Her husband. There's a little bronze plaque as you go down the trail of passages. The first one's that cedar arch.
Yeah.
There's a little plastic bronze. Her husband, that was his project, put together that, and his name is on that.
I'll have to look for that. Oh my gosh. Wow.
It probably will never bloom again. It's a ripsalis.
Isn't that beautiful?
It's all, no, it was outside all summer.
Awesome. Wow.
And I noticed it had all these little buds on it, so
Wow.
it took it forever to get around to blooming. But when it
When it bloomed, it's
here's a really pretty.
just showy. Look at that. Wow. Shirts to wear, right?
Goodbye.